right, I'm back a minute early. I just want to address this one question that came in from DMA Trader. He says, "Hi, I'm here for the first time. How often are these webinars, and where can I get some more details about this service? Thanks for your time and information." Okay. We're a part of a company. We give these free. These webinars are free every day. And let's see, where did I? If you wanted to know, we're associated with the WizeTrade company, and WizeTrade, Wize is spelled with a Z, not an S. So if you were really interested in becoming a customer, you don't have to be. But if you're really interested in becoming a customer, then the 3 phone numbers, this is the major phone number, okay? 888-304-8881, extension 2. Or you can call a couple of our salespeople, okay, 214-269-3277, or Barry. Barry is at that phone number right there, okay? They can tell you more about the company, how to become a customer, how to get signed up, all that stuff. So basically, as a customer, what you do is you get access to various platforms that we have. One of them is Lightwave. Okay, it looks like this. Another one is MB Desktop Pro. That's the one I've been using here. Right now I've got it set up on 4 different charts and stuff like that. But when you take these down, there's a whole bunch of stuff behind here in which you can see, options. So yeah, these platforms can do anything, like with options or futures, foreign exchange, all that kind of stuff. They're capable of handling those trades. Okay. So anyway, thought I'd just let you know that. And a second. Okay, I don't know what that's from. Twitter Connect, Futures Trader 4S. Oh, I think that might have come from Blake. Anyway, I see you, Blake. I'm answering a question for one of the people in here called DMA Trader, wanting to know what we're doing. So anyways, like I said, these daily webinars go on. They start at 7 in the morning Eastern time. They go until 4 in the afternoon Eastern time. And then we even got a 2-hour segment at night during the European hours, 2:30 to 4:30 Eastern time. If you ever wanted to tune into that. But the link that you got in, DMA Trader, the link that you used to get in, keep that link. You will receive, if you registered to get in, you will receive a daily reminder to come back in and join us. And you can ask questions. You don't have to be a customer. Ask questions, do anything you want. We'd like you to be a customer at some point. And to do that, then you just fill out some paperwork on the website. You can also go to, let's do this. Go to now, it may redirect you to something called MB Trading. That's okay. We're part of the same company. But if you go to WizeTrade.com, you'll be able to at least look at the initial sign-up type stuff that we've got for that. Or you can call those 3 phone numbers that I just outlined to you right there, that one, or that one, or that one, and have somebody in the sales office answer your questions. You don't have to buy anything. You just get your questions answered and then go from there. Okay? All right. Well, at this time, then, I am going to, Mike and James and others, I'm going to delay your questions till the end after Blake is done. Okay? So we'll get to those. At this point, I gotta go find Blake in the audience. I don't know why that seems wrong. It seems wrong that I should have to bring Blake in from the audience. There he is. Unmute. Can you hear
Hey,
us,
Steve.
Blake?
I
Hey, Blake, how
can.
are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Push the start recording button.
It feels so weird being a guest on the webinar.
It certainly does, yeah. So, anyways, how you been?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing real well, doing real well. Staying real busy, too, with these broadcasts and stuff like that, because it feels like I had to grow an extra amount as a trader to put out daily thoughts on what I call them the theme for Forex and the theme for the day on stocks and stuff like that to kind of, make sure I'm covering all bases.
That's good. That's the way you grow as a trader. One of the things I think I learned over the last whatever it was 14 15 years with the WizeTrade group is that teaching other people really reinforces everything that you do, and
Hmm.
it really is helps polish like your skill set, especially from a trading perspective. So I think it's great for you. It's only gonna help you.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely focuses my thinking each and every single day. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny if you're like sitting there looking at the euro, and you're like, well, the euro looks bullish today, and here's the reasons why. And then later on that day, if you're trading it and you start getting on the short side, you're like, wait a second, I was bullish this thing earlier today. What changed? And that in itself makes you think twice about what you're doing, and helps reinforce those decisions as you're, like, let's say, buying the euro because you thought it was bullish earlier. So
Definitely. So let's
Hey
do a
guys,
formal introduction here. Most
hold
of you
on.
on here are
Hello?
probably know who Blake Morrow
I can hear you,
is.
Kip.
Okay.
Kip,
Yeah. Hey,
speak.
Steven, I'm here too. I'm just going to listen in, but I might chime in every now and then.
Great. Sounds great. All right.
Hey, Kip.
Um,
Hey, Blake.
Hey.
so as formal introduction, for those who are new, most everybody on here is probably well aware of who Blake Morrow is, but for anybody who's new, Blake Morrow used to be a member of the WizeTrade staff, and he gave webinars ever since probably around the 2003, 2004 timeframe. Started first on mostly just you could only get sound. You didn't have screens to go with it. Later it moved to a TV format, and then we settled on the Citrix format after that. And been in this Citrix format for probably about 7 or 8 years, maybe or more. Um, but Blake then was our chief technology person on Forex trading. And so he joined several other people during the day to do these webinars, people with various expertise in various things. Blake primarily with Forex, but he could do anything. So that's who Blake is, and we're glad to be welcoming him back. He's got a new career, and if you want to just briefly tell us what that new career is doing, Blake.
Well, thanks, Steve, and I appreciate the intro. And for those of you that I'm sure there's a lot of you guys that had listened in, previously, and I got to first off say that one thing that I don't miss, and I miss everybody. I miss the camaraderie with everybody, especially having you guys as team members and teammates. But one thing that I don't really miss is I can freely come and go as I please now. It's it's kind of nice. It's like, hey, I'm tired. You know me. I get up at ridiculous hours of the day, so for me, it's like, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm gonna go lay down. Okay, well, that's fine. All my positions are squared away. I don't. So that's kind of nice. But I do really miss the daily broadcasts and the camaraderie just with the traders, just chatting with everybody throughout the course of the day. Um, well, my new career really entails two things. First of all, as most people here know, that I started with a few other people. Forex Analytics is just it's a technical analysis platform that we're trying to get into the hands of some banks and brokers. That's a project that, fortunately, I have a great team that handles a lot of those day-to-day issues and things. But the real reason for me, leaving the WizeTrade group is I'm trading a much larger amount for a small fund, and I'm trading much larger sizes now, and that needed my full attention. So, and it's been a great experience. I've been doing it, you know, with this company for a while, and it's been great. And I've learned a few things by trading some larger amounts and being around some pretty stellar traders the last several months. So it's been a great learning experience for me, and profitable one too, which you know it was the key for me to leave. So.
All right. And how's your family doing? Good?
Everybody's doing great. You know, my wife's doing her birdie tell project as she has been. She's doing great. She's we're actually doing an event this weekend where and we're going to be outside, you know, showing off the product. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a family event. My kids are doing great. It's baseball season, so I was at a game last night and I got blown over by a haboob. Yeah, it was bad because I took out, because it's so nice here in the evenings. I took out our convertible. I had the top down and I left it in the parking lot with the top down, and I didn't know the storm was coming, and it was like it was a gnarly one. It came bustling through. But you know, I do baseball games at night with the kids, and the kids are both playing games. So it's I'm a taxi cab driver by night, trader by day. So everything's good. Everything's really good. My youngest happens to be sick today, but overall, you know, everything's great.
And I'm making the assumption you are still waking up really early just because of the when Forex trades, correct?
I am. Yeah, my schedule hasn't changed. You know, a lot of people, you know, that I talk to, I'm like, yeah, you know, I left the company I was with for the last 15 years and I'm out on my own now. And they're like, oh, you don't get to, you get to sleep in now. I'm like, no, that hasn't changed. I still get up at, you know, ridiculous hours. But if there's a day that you know, if I feel that I don't have huge positions on, or, you know, the market's maybe not going to be super active tomorrow, I can sleep in, and I do so.
That's cool. All right.
Yeah, having that flexibility is kind of nice.
Definitely. Yeah, I said I had maybe one or two interview questions, you know, for you, and so I'll ask those, and then if you want, I can actually give you the screen if there's anything you want to talk about or show or anything like that. But my first interview question basically had to do, you know, if you could take your entire career with WizeTrade as a learning tool, what lesson would it have taught you?
Wow, that's a great question. And you know, one of the things that I would think I'd like to attribute it to WizeTrade. Maybe it's more of growth as a trader. Oh my gosh, this market is dumping right now, by the way. It's maybe more growth as a trader, but also has something to do with just being in the markets for so long. Is that what was really reinforced to me is to buy or sell on pullbacks. You know, it's the same thing that I always talked about when I was on webinars and with you guys on a daily basis. Is, look, I just don't buy. I don't buy breakouts and I don't sell breakdowns. I get in, you know, when prices pull back. And what's interesting though with that, Steve, is some of the guys and gal that I trade with that are very active in the markets, they're very much momentum based, and that's kind of the way I was back earlier in my career. You know, when something was moving, they just plow into the market no matter what it is. And you know, even the guys that I trade with now on a daily basis, they're like, hey, did you get a piece of that? I'm like, nah, because it didn't it didn't pull back. And they're like, oh, you know, but they don't. It's the way that a couple of traders, you know, we talk about it. It's like it's having the finesse of the market, and the one thing that I think maybe has really taught me that is while using the WizeTrade systems for many years, You know, we use the red and green lines and the algorithms that the WizeTrade has. We know that when something's trending higher or lower, nothing goes up or down forever. And so if you're really sold on the idea that something's going higher or lower, being able to buy a pullback or sell a bounce is just as good, and typically keeps you safe. And that's been really reinforced in my trading over the last several months.
That's kind of cool to know that, you know, that strategy never dies. It's always going to be current, and it also gives hope to those who think, oh, I just missed a trade, to know that, hey, there's another one coming around. Don't go away just yet.
That's exactly right, and that's what I think most people lose sight of when they're trading, just in general, is like, oh my God, it moved and I missed it. And it's like, no, the move could really just be starting, and having like a retest or a pullback, and confirming that that trend is now, you know, establishing itself, is just as important, because you can really, you know, manage your risk better by doing that. And that's one of the things that's been really reinforced in my mind over the last, you know, several months of me doing this with much larger amounts now.
Okay, cool. So if there's anything new that you could tell us about the new job and what it's teaching you, is there anything beyond that?
Well, you know, there is, when you're trading larger amounts, you know, and when I say larger amounts, I'm talking substantially larger amounts. I'm trading, uh, I would say on the average, and I'm looking at my current positions right now that I have on, I'm trading 40 to 50 times larger than I was as an independent trader. So yeah, and you know, and I didn't, you know, when I traded, for me it was like, you know, hey, I made $500 here, or you know, $800 there, or I lost $300 there. I'm trading in larger multiples now. So by doing that, I had to tailor what I do specifically. Um, I used to trade, you know, as an independent trader, like, you know, most of us, or most of you are. Um, you know, when you've got an account, you can say, okay, I'm going to take a small position. I'm going to let it flow with the market. I'm going to let it oscillate. I'm going to let it pull back a little bit. I know I've got the trend right, but my timing might have been a little off. When you're trading, you know, much larger sizes, you have to be much more precise in your timing, and also know when something's going against you, you can't stick around long, because you just can't, you know, when you have such a big position in the market, it really reinforces the idea that you don't want to be on the wrong side too long. So that's been something for me specifically, that I've said, okay, you know, I'm wrong here. I'm willing to get out, take my loss. I can always get back in, and that, because there's nothing truer in this market, or in any market, that, you know, in order to make money, you have to have money. So once you have no money, you can't make money anymore. So, you
So
know,
true.
there, it's very true. So that, you know, you always hear it from other traders and other managers that, you know, reduce your risk, manage, know your loss, and all of those rules that I've applied for many years have been really reinforced by doing what I do now. And you know, keeping risk reward always at a favorable towards, you know, slanted towards your reward, and minimizing your risk has become so much more important as I'm trading much larger sizes now.
Very illustrative way of saying money management is key.
It is. There's no really. I know you can say it, and it, you know, and it almost sounds redundant. And you know, many of you heard it come out of my mouth for years and years and years. Like, oh, you know, watch your risk. What's your risk? Where, you know, but those rules really come into play, especially as you start to, you know, really trade larger amounts. And I have to imagine that each and every one of you have an idea of, okay, I've got a, you know, I'm a retail trader. I've got a $5,000 account, or I've got a $50,000 account, or a $10,000 account, whatever the number is, and you say, okay, you know, this $5,000 or this $10,000 or this $50,000 or this $100,000, what I'm expecting out of it is, because, you know, you're not living off this money, hopefully, is that you got this $5,000 account that eventually, you know, over the next year or two might be a $10,000 account, and maybe eventually it might be a $100,000 account, and then $1 million account, and then here you are 5 or 6 years later, and you've got, you know, a nice 6-figure account you're trading. You have to really, you know, tailor, in order to continue to grow exponentially, you have to tailor your trading style a little differently, especially as it gets bigger. You know, I'm not as lenient now of letting a trade go against me. I'm, you know, I'm more willing to cut that loss quickly and say, okay, I messed up my timing. Let me see if I can find a, you know, better entry into the market. And that has really been true.
Cool. Yeah, Ira asked a question that I think is pretty poignant at this point. He says, when you go into a trade, do you always know and stick to your exit point?
Yeah, you got to always stick to your exit point. But the same rules apply from even back when I was doing webinars here. I always know my exit. I don't know my exit when I'm wrong. I guess I should quantify that. I know my exit when I'm wrong. I don't necessarily know my exit where I want to get out and take profit, because my ideas are always longer term. So in other words, I start off every trade thinking, okay, this is my risk period, end of story. You know, if it goes here, I have to get out. I can't jeopardize anymore. I'm not willing to risk anymore. I'm wrong. But the upside, I have so much more upside that I don't really want to cap any idea about what I'm doing. So for example, I buy recently, over the last 2 weeks, I've been buying the pound Canadian, for example, and I bought it as it broke out of this triangle, and I said, okay, well, and it was down at like 164 or whatever, and it's at 167 right now. I said, okay, well, I'm only willing to risk below 162. Below 162, it's wrong. I know it's wrong, but my upside in that trade could be 170, could be 180. It really depends on how, you know, the market takes this Brexit news in a week from now, when we have a hard Brexit. You know, I you know, continue to trade in the idea that, you know, a lot of the bad is already factored into the Great British Pound, so therefore, you know, my downside is fairly limited. But at this point, I know where my downside is. Now that I've been in this trade a little bit longer, you know, I still know that I have to manage the trade appropriately, but their upside is there still could be another 1,000 to 2,000 pips of upside in this trade. And that's why, you know, I might take a little here off to book some profits, but then I'm really writing a free trade. And I try to do that as often as possible. And it's the same stuff that we as independent traders would do on a smaller basis. It's okay, I'm going to take a quarter of this off, book some profits. Now I'm in a risk-free trade and try to ride this thing out for, for me, I'm going to try to make my whole quarter in some of these trades.
Hey, Blake.
Yeah.
When you're on something like that, that's potentially a really big move, and I assume you're looking at Fibonacci levels and
yeah.
Are you also adding in certain points? Like
yeah, because
level.
Yeah, I do, because I try to put myself, something that I've always tried to instill in our traders at WizeTrade is I always try to put myself in the shoes of somebody who's on the other side of the trade. So if I was, for example, short the pound Canadian, where is my panic area? Where am I going to say, all right, well, I'm going to put my stop here if I'm short? That means that's where I know where I got them. So at those places, those are places that I start looking to add, and I really start looking to to put on a bigger trade. Also, it's event driven too, Kip. So, for example, you know, I'm looking at obviously the 29th of March, which, you know, is just a couple of days away, when Theresa May invokes Article 50. Well, in that invocation of Article 50, that's an event. That is, you know, that something is happening on that day. If the pound acts favorably on that day, where, you know, most people are like, well, it's, you know, Article 50, it's actually Brexit, it's happening. You know, one would expect that the pound, and I think the whole market expects the pound to continue lower. But if it doesn't and it actually reverses higher, then that's when I know I got him, and that's when I can start pressing even harder on a trade. Yeah, so because I know that they're thinking, oh, you know, crap, I'm wrong, and me, I know I'm really going to put my foot on their neck and I'm going to twist my foot.
Isn't Brexit already kind of priced in? I mean,
exactly. Well, that's my thoughts exactly. That's my argument on why I've been doing that, or taking some long side cable trades. The flip side also is, Kip and Steve, like, for example, we know it's coming. We know the date is on the 29th. Okay, so because we knew it was coming, I try to position myself favorably ahead of a key event, as long as we know it's telegraphed well enough in advance. And that's the whole reason why I've been, you know, long the pound Canadian, I've been long pound New Zealand, I've been short Euro pound. I've been playing the pound on the long side, trying to position myself in a market where, if the news or if the event happens and it is favorable to my position, I can really press, because then I'll be in a position where a position of power, if you will.
right.
Pretty cool. What do you think of the current market situation, especially with the dollar and anything else? And if you like, I can kind of turn over the screen to you if you have anything to draw.
Well, I mean, I can. Yeah, you can, if you want to make me a presenter,
Yeah,
I can. Yeah, sure.
Sure. Okay. Let me. Can I just make you an organizer, or do you want to be just presenter?
Oh, that's fine. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Let me see here. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. You guys, it looks like they got new software now.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a refacing of the dashboard, but it should still all be the same functionality.
Got it. Okay. So let me see. Let me make sure I got you the screen that I want. This looks like it. Can you guys see the S&P right now? Chart of the S&P?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Means everybody else should be able to see that, hopefully. Okay, so when you asked me about like the state of the dollar, well, the dollar is a really tricky animal in my opinion, and the reason why is because by the way, I've been short basically since inauguration. I mean, since the inauguration, when Donald Trump took office, I've been really just trying to play the dollar more to the short side, not for any political reasons, other than I think that, as I'd felt really the last few months, is that he's going to have a difficult time pushing legislation through, hence what's happening today, right?
Yes.
So this is exactly the reason why I've been playing the dollar to the short side, and also knowing that the market was so aggressively long. I mean, most of us, for the last several years, we've been playing the dollar since, I mean, it was way down here in 2014. We really participated in most of this rally. So you can see the dollar here is at an inflection point, a pretty important inflection point for the market, and that's why I'm, for me to be too aggressively short the dollar right now, that's really not my not where I stand. I've been kind of shorting it on rallies, and I've been buying the cable. I've been buying the euro, which it has been almost awkward for me. But there's a lot at play here. You've got between the new administration, obviously struggling to push legislation through, as we can see. We have the French elections, which is a big event risk between Le Pen and Macron. These are big deals in the FX world. It can really affect what happens with the dollar. So I can honestly say that I am pretty neutral on the dollar at this point. And now, looking at the dollar index, you can see there's a big head and shoulder pattern. This doesn't really convince me so much, because you guys know, and here I can just kind of draw it here for you. What can very easily happen is we do this, right? We break what looks like a neckline. It looks like it's going to break down, sucks everybody in short, and then we reverse. So I'm not sold on the dollar is a flat out short yet, but I'll tell you what, if the dollar breaks below here, that trend line, that will reinforce my idea that the dollar is probably going to give back some of these gains that we've seen in the last year or whatever. So as far as the dollar index, the easy short money has been made. I happen to be a little bit more bullish the yen right now. And if you look at the dollar yen has just been very much underperforming as equities have been rallying to new highs. And so it was only a matter of time before we broke lower, as equity markets are starting to make lower highs. And when I say that, if you look at the S&P, just we're making a lower high here. So as the equity market starts to show some signs of weakness, obviously yen strength is coming in. And I think if there's one thing that the market is universally in right now, is short yen. How many people are long dollar yen, pound yen, euro yen, Aussie yen, New Zealand yen? Those have been I think the market's very aggressively still long yen, and I think that those trades could really unwind with any type of risk aversion. Now, do I think that the dollar yen will be a buy somewhere down here? I'm sure it will. I mean, if it gets down to 108 or maybe 104, those are areas that I'd personally be looking to get long. Just play it something like this, like short down to here and higher. But I think it all has to do with how equities act here over the next next few weeks. And one of the trades that really made my quarter, Steve, has been the peso. This one I actually shorted.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I shorted the dollar peso on an inauguration day. Okay. And I wrote it short from here, basically 21.80 down to I closed it my original short somewhere down here and then shorted it again. So I've been playing this one pretty aggressively. I'm a little nervous about. I'm actually been playing it long the last couple of days, believe it or not, because we're at a channel support. Basically, we're at channel support, so we're at 161% extension. We get any risk aversion, this thing's going to pop right back up again. Emerging market currencies will probably get smoked if that happens, which I don't mind playing into it, especially after such an aggressive drop. I mean, we've gone from 22 to 8 to 19.
I've been very bemused by the fact of how much strength the peso has been able to gain back in the face of post-election, even on days when somebody would say something and think, oh, that's got to be very bad for the peso, and yet you could still see it gaining a little strength. So I've been interested in that.
Yeah. So it's been now this is not an easy place to trade it. I'll be the first one to admit, and the several $1,000s that I lost this morning trading it would attest to the fact that it's a difficult time to do it. But at the same time, it's like, you know, I know that we're at a real critical juncture and an inflection point. You know, it's either the dollar peso is just going to come completely unglued here, and we're going to start to see, like, we'll go back and see the teens back, you know, 17, 18, or it's going to bounce back to 20 or so and give us another shot at it on the short side. I knew when we had the inauguration, then we had all the banter about the wall, and then we saw, and that was probably around here, and then once Donald Trump and his team went a little softer on Mexico, that was our cue to really get aggressive, because you knew at that point that so many funds had been short pesos, short EWW, that at that stage in the game, they had to remove those positions off the table. And the nice thing about being a trader, and even a trader like what I do now, I mean, I may trade for a small fund, but we're still very nimble. I can enter or exit, you know, several $1 million worth of currencies, and I don't think about it. I don't have to, you know, sit down with a team meeting with people and say, you know, okay, we're going to shift our portfolio over to this, and how are we going to do that? No, I'm nimble, and I make decisions rather quickly. So, you know, if you got institutions that happen to be short pesos for the last couple of years, they have to sit down and reconfigure what they're doing and reduce their exposure. It's going to take them a couple of weeks to unwind those positions, and just knowing that, and knowing how aggressive, you know, how aggressively. Oops, I didn't want to move that, but I'll just get rid of that now. Knowing how aggressively they'd been short pesos for the last couple of years, this was a given. This at least the second half of this move to me.
Yeah, you knew it had to happen at some point, that there was going to be a reversal on a lot of that stuff, just because, you know, as much pressure as they put on to hurt the peso, you knew it was going to come right back at some point.
Well, you know, it's going back to what Kip asked, you know, like, when do you add, and what, and like I said, it's event driven. When, you know, when Donald Trump met with the president of Mexico, and I always mutilate his name when I say it, but when he met with him, and then he, you know, had a great meeting, and then went home and tried to talk tough, but he, you know, came home and tried to talk tough, but you knew they were really softening their stance, especially, you know, once Tillerson, his comments came out, you knew that it was a negotiation tactic, and they pushed as hard as they were going to push. And then at that point, you knew, okay, then the peso is going to rip. And that's what really pushed us probably from the 21 handle down below 20.
Yeah.
And that was the given. That was the event. That was the event that made me push hard on that trade.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I did a little bit of that about that time too. So yeah, cool. Got time for a couple of questions then, or?
Absolutely. I got a few minutes, and I'm gonna have to bolt a little early. I've got a thing I got to do this afternoon for my step grandmother. She's getting for if you don't know, she's the mother of holistic medicine. She is known as. She's 90. I want to say she's just turned 96. She's getting inducted into the Arizona State Hall of Fame.
Oh,
it's something, yeah. Because the state of Arizona named a day after her years ago, and they're really it's a big presentation, and she's literally she came up with the term holistic. So if you ever say, oh, I have a holistic solution. Yeah, they came up with that word. Her and
cool.
And 4 other physicians. Yeah, so she's an amazing woman, and I got to go to her ceremony this afternoon, and then they have dinner with them afterwards. So, okay, I got to do that this afternoon. So I can answer a few questions before I go.
All right. Well, ask
Blake.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Nitish want to know how big is your account, and where are your stops?
Tell them to kiss my ass. Okay.
I thought that was funny.
That is funny.
Ken asks, what time frame do you trade off of?
You know, I still use a lot of the same charts. Oh, actually, I use all the same charts that I previously used. I use dailies and hourlies and 4-hour charts. I mean, and then when things are really moving and I'm trying to time my entry in, I'm still using 15-minute charts. So I am very much trading in the same fashion that I always have. So
okay. Al asks, is your system approach more profitable in comparison to the momentum traders?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. The guy now the guys that that I trade with are I like to. First of all, you'll never find them on social media. I like to call them like financial ninjas. They are really a group of the most talented traders I've ever met in my entire life. And they're very humble. They're extremely quiet, and you'd never know if you met them. Okay. Those and these guys are the best of the best. They are really, really, really proficient at what they do. So, is it to me to say that my way of trading is better than theirs? Hell no. They're really good. I mean, like these types of moves, these types of moves right here, like it's breaking out and you see it, you see something ripping on it. Doesn't matter. This is the dollar yen. It doesn't really matter what it is. When you see something rip like that, they're the guys that are behind these moves and they're taking full advantage of them. So, it's just a different way of trading. It's not my cup of tea, and it's not what I do well, but they're very good at it. And I can't say that they're I'm more profitable than them. That would be a silly statement.
Yeah, I would even go so far as to say, like I've said many times, strategies are a dime a dozen. If you have a trading system and you've got a good set of rules surrounding it, and you strict discipline on money management, your system is going to be fitting you and be just as good as somebody else's system as long as you've got money management in place.
Yeah, and you know what, Steve? That's a great point. And I'll tell you guys the same thing that I told you. Nothing's changed from 4 months ago, or a year ago, or 2 or 5 years ago. Look, find the way that you trade the market comfortably, and then from there, don't change it. Just add zeros. It's just really that's really what. But one thing that I will say that I had to change a little bit trading larger, because in order to trade the amounts that I'm trading now, I had to become a little bit more short term on some ideas, especially on my entries. I couldn't be as lackadaisical, which it's also a kind of a product of my environment. When I was on a webinar like you guys are, I might get short the euro dollar and just sit in it for a while, because I'm like, okay, I know short euro is the right trade right now. Not necessarily right now, but I would be thinking that I'm going to get short, but I'm going to be on a webinar for the next several hours. I'm not really going to be able to manage it too much, and that's fine, but now I'm really laser focused in front of a computer and in front of my my charts. And so for me, it makes more sense to be a little bit more aggressive, less tolerant with my entries, and manage my risk a little tighter. So, and I've had to make that change, and I've adapted to that.
Cool. Do you get any differences in margin? I mean, most of us trade with 20-to-1 margin, and maybe occasionally we get 50-to-1. But do you get anything better with what you do?
We have a line of credit with the this is actually a funny story. We have a line of credit with our prime broker. It's a big line of credit. I went to the office, which is in Florida, and I went to the office last week, and the guys there are mostly equity market traders. They trade a little FX, especially in the mornings or late at night. They tend to have more interest on what's happening in currencies. But I'm kind of like their currency go-to guy. You know, when they have a question about what's happening in the currency market, they'll ask me first. So when I'm there, naturally, sitting next to them for a week, they naturally have their interest is peaked a little bit more in currencies. We maxed out our margin when I was there because we aggressively. I mean, when I say aggressively, when the ECB meeting last Thursday, we got aggressively long the euro and the cable, and it was right here. This move on Thursday. I guess this is it. Yeah, this last week. Yeah, this is last week, last Thursday. I'm assuming this is it. What day is this? The 15th, 23rd. Yeah, 15th Wednesday. These 2 days right here. This is FOMC and ECB. We got aggressively long the euro here right here as an office. So I say like myself and all the other traders, we all got pretty long the euro, and we maxed out our margin. The brokerage firm actually shut us down to say, closing positions only, and then we had to go and ratchet up our margin the next day. Yeah. So the answer to your question is, do we have margin rules? Yes, they're a little bit more lenient because we are, when a brokerage firm looks at a group like us, they realize that we're not, we're there doing what we do for a reason. It's not like we, there's just like, it's like, okay, you got somebody who's been, driving race cars for 20 years. Here, you can use my race car. But the difference is if you give it just, oh, here's my race car. This person's only ridden on a bike before. You're not using my race car, so so the margins might be a little bit different on a retail basis versus an institutional level.
Okay, cool. How much time you got? Maybe one or two more questions?
Yeah, shoot a couple more.
Okay, Benita says, how did you meet the other traders in your new group?
I got approached.
It's all in who you know, huh? Okay.
Exactly.
And then let's see. I believe Ken is asking. No, that wasn't it. Oh, Brian. Brian had a question. This is a very specific one. He says, could you run through the U.S. yen versus the ES trade he put on Twitter earlier?
The dollar yen. The dollar yen was just sitting here. I'll talk about it really quick. It was just where are we at right now? Dollar yen is a 5-minute chart. We were sitting down here, and the S&Ps were rallying earlier, and the dollar yen just kind of popped up. But it, as you can see, we're down here overnight, and the S&P. If you look over here. Okay, so you can see the S&P had already busted through its overnight highs, and I'm like, yeah, the dollar yen hasn't rallied. So what I did is I sold some dollar yen, and then as soon as I said that, like the dollar yen started to rip higher, and I'm like, oh, the algos are picking up on this. So they ripped it up to like 111.20, and then I just shorted aggressively up here, and as it came down, I covered everything and I made a few bucks. But it was basically just I was trading the divergence between the S&P and the dollar yen at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the volumes you now do you sometimes finding yourself running awry of some of the algo traders or HFTs?
Yeah, well, I do, and it's interesting. I met a gentleman who happens to be arguably one of the most successful people in this industry, and he said to me, he's like, Blake, you have a, in the Forex market, you have a because of your Twitter presence. He goes, you have a megaphone, and so when you talk, everybody can hear. He goes, you have to watch that, and you have to be careful. And you guys might know that I tweet things, but I'm careful. I'm a little bit more careful about what I'm tweeting nowadays because I do have a lot of followers, and so I think I am. And he confirmed with me. He's like, you very much are susceptible to algorithmic systems latching onto things that you say or tweet, or in other words. So I'm more careful. And he goes, I know that for a fact because he knows algo based systems, and so ever since having that conversation with him, I am a little bit more careful about what I say, but I'm more strategic in what I say too. So when I said that about the dollar yen, I was hoping it would ramp the dollar yen up and spike it into the 111.20 so I can short aggressively, and I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
yeah, nobody wants to be the next Bill Ackman, right?
Well, yeah, well, no, and the thing is I don't know. Maybe it was more of a coincidence. Maybe maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But I think that algorithms are you're more susceptible to times like this when there's nothing happening, versus an algorithm being run when there's a lot of market activity. So if it's going to be a choppy day because the healthcare bill is going up for vote tonight at 7 p.m. If it's going to be kind of a choppy day, these are the types of days that algorithms tend to flourish in these types of situations, or these types of market conditions.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, there's a lot of comments came in that said that they really miss you and they appreciate you taking the time to step on with us for a little while and stuff.
Well, it's been my pleasure, and let me say to everybody out there is I do really miss the camaraderie of the people on the webinar. I mean, there is something to be said, and I know Steve and Kip, you guys know this too. You definitely develop a special bond with the people that you're talking to, because they're your people. It's your sounding board. It's the people that you're talking to, sharing ideas with, stories with, and I truly miss that. Obviously, I've developed other relationships, but I definitely miss this one, and I miss the time that I spent here on a daily basis. I do enjoy the freedom of kind of doing what I want when I want. It's really my kid, for example, Monday, Tuesday, my kid was sick, and I had to step away from the desk for a couple hours here and there just to tend to him, because he just wasn't feeling well, and I wanted to go spend some time with him, and I have that flexibility now, and there is something to be said for that. But I do miss everybody here.
We miss you too, Blake.
Yeah, we do.
We miss your songs.
Yeah, that's just hopefully the new guys, they let you do the Greek gods and slurp coffee, right?
No, they don't. We don't. Well, the thing is we talk all day long. We talk all day long, but no, I don't torture them with any of that stuff. I don't. Fortunately for them.
All right. Well, if you need to get going, we'll let you take off.
No, all right. Well, thank you very much, and I want to thank you guys for having me on, and I definitely would love to come back if offered. I'll come back again and maybe share some ideas and and spend some time with you guys again.
Definitely. We certainly appreciate you taking the time out of we know it's busy days, and so we appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us, and thanks again.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you guys, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon. So you all take care of yourselves.
All right. Thanks, Blake.
Thanks, Kip. Thanks, Steve, very much. Thanks for having me here, and good luck to you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All righty, folks. I am going to put a stop